Look what I got. It's finally here. James Rolfe's autobiography, A Movie Making Nerd. He had the time to write it, I had the time to read it. So today, we're gonna talk about it. Yeah. Well, first of all, what did I think of it? Take a wild guess. It took me 5 hours to read this thing. 5 of them! It took me 5 hours to read this! And I finished it at 5:40, of course, because that's the time that I need to be done. It's the time where I need to watch my cats. Being a big fan of Jimmy Rolfe, Matei, Screenwave, and of course Ryan, I kinda had my mind made up on this book as soon as I ordered it. The simple writing style really speaks to me, and the inconsistency in tone really, harkens to the Cinemassacre formula. Writing 101 states that if you're gonna use the title of, a large body of work, for example, like King Kong, Writing 101 states that you should put that title in italics since it's a large work, it is a film. But instead, James, he puts it in quotes, and the year number too, which the year is not needed, but hey, that's just James using his old Cinemassacre formula. James really harkened back to his old days. He Cinemassacred his way right through this book, which is how it should be done. Now look, James has saved my life on multiple occasions, and I'm just a college freshman. Which is why I'm forever grateful that he spent over half of this book about his childhood and college freshman year. Most of which, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, really doesn't have anything to do with filmmaking. Well, actually, no, on second thought, his history and special ed and his vintage anthology of SNCs, the 6 SNCs flicks, are really the forerunners to his modern masterpieces. Speaking of modern masterpieces, the AVGN film, the movie itself based on the web series, it's really up there with the likes of Hitchcock's Vertigo or Wells' Citizen Kane. It is documented heavily in this book. I mean, James really said it best when he says that he's confused by criticism and he always goes with his gut instinct. The rules of filmmaking say that a small, independently, budgeted feature should just be that, independent and small. But, come on, we're talking about a world-renowned film curator here. This is James Rolfe, Cinemassacre that we're talking about. A casting director says that the script is too much with UFOs and special effects. Fire him. All of their complaints are of the asshole-ish variety. James's judgment on the film in hindsight is 100% correct. Being the 428th film in his extensive filmography, the AVGN movie is really just, once again, a masterpiece of modern cinema. It's almost as good as IXOV, which is the documentary that he made of all of his dorm mates trashing their college dorm. That film got him kicked out of college. Wow. Imagine getting kicked out of an art school for a piece of art that you created. In all honesty, the university should have been lucky to have James in the first place, which clearly they found that out because they let him back in a year later. In fact, James says in the book that at that university, that's where he made digital media known. He cites himself as the one who started the digital media revolution rather than, shooting everything on film. James Rolfe truly is a genius of his own time. And of course, James does highlight, nothing but good memories with Matei, Bootsy, and Kyle. Now look, I don't need to be the one to tell you that, Matei has a huge dick, Bootsy really likes baseball, and Kyle Justin really only existed to give James a job and a wife. But I have to say, James really does care about his colleagues, which is why he found such great new friends and coworkers through Screenwave nowadays. Now, with a title like A Movie Making Nerd, you would think James spends a lot of this book talking about his filmmaking. I mean, after all, the AVGN series contains some of his best-known films. But rather than focusing on the films that made him famous, he instead focuses on the business aspect of things when it comes to AVGN. Now look, this is a good thing. I liked reading this book for that reason. It really subverted my expectations, and I'm a guy who likes books. I like different stories when I can get them. I mean, picking up a book about filmmaking from the creator of AVGN and having him really not talk about it or touch on it at all? Wow. And the series Board James, something that really flexed James's filmmaking muscles and creativity, just all of that good stuff. It's only mentioned twice in the book. Twice. 2 times. Count them. 1, 2. Which makes sense because if you think about it, something like Snicks has a bigger impact on James's life story than something like Dream Phone or Mr. Bucket. Now, the last thing that James covers in this book is his band that he started, Rex Viper. Now, look, I'm going to be very brief about this, but I really think they're going to break the mold of rock and roll. I can see them performing concerts on mountaintops and, you know, performing with all the heart that they have, duck walks and all. And with that, my time is almost up. If you guys want to hear the spectacular life story of renowned film curator and filmmaker James Rolfe, go ahead and pick up A Movie Making Nerd. Coming from a guy who has made hundreds of films, I definitely learned a few things from this book. It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, and everything in between. Needless to say, it's very clear that he did not want us to suffer while reading this book. I would like to close this review with an excerpt. He hated rulers. Hated them. He wanted us to draw lines without using any guide. Fine. So we did. These lines aren't straight. Why are they so crooked? Because we didn't use a ruler. That's what tools are for. Does this guy hammer a nail with his bare hands?
Now let's talk about the lights. What is this? Some kind of anti-gravity experiment? I had to drill a hole in it, which was surprisingly difficult. This was some really tough 80s wood.
There goes the onion.
So yeah, obviously this whole video was satire. Dude, I treated it like a school project. I took bulleted notes along the way because I wanted to make an honest critique of this book, but then whenever I finished it, I kind of thought, well, the guys at Red Cow Entertainment would do a better job at that than me. I thought this would be easier to do and a little bit more appreciated to make a meme-y, you know, type video. And let's be honest, I don't have the time to make a real review anyway. And actually, speaking of which, what time is it? Yeah, 5:40 anyway. Shit. Well, anyway, that's it. We just ran out of time because I have to be done at 5:40 right now, and it is exactly 5:40.